Welcome in to No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. It looks like, for the time being, you might just have me tonight. We've taken 2 weeks off, and Josh and Ryan need an extra week off. Josh has something to attend to, and Ryan currently has no power. So it looks like you're just going to have me tonight. So all the questions, please let them flow through. We are, for most people, 2 weeks away from your fantasy football playoff. So it is crunch time. There are a lot of interesting waiver wire pickups and a lot of questions that you might have about said waiver wire pickups and if you should start them over X player. We're going to break that all down right now. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm your host, Joe Zollo. For those just hopping in, it is just me for the evening. Ryan currently has no power. Josh has a personal matter to attend to. So you have yours truly here for the next hour to entertain you. So, any questions that y'all have that's going to help me drive the show even further? I want to make this show about you, gentlemen and women. I see Zara's already in here. Hello, my friend. Hope you're doing well after a couple weeks. Hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving. It is week 13. 2 teams on a bye, so you're not really dealing with too much heartbreak. Kyler Murray owners, DeAndre Hopkins owners might be in a little bit of a pickle. James Conner owners after last week might be thinking, okay, he's back. Carolina Panthers, a team that's super high and low, but Deonta Foreman owners, DJ Moore owners, you've kind of been dealing without him most of the season, so you should have an answer. But I wouldn't say too many people hurting this week outside of DeAndre Hopkins owners, but you've had to navigate that for the first 6 weeks of the season anyways. A lot of injuries to get to. I'm going to run through all of them right now. Dame Harris has been ruled out tomorrow against the Buffalo Bills. That is a huge loss for New England just based off of Damian Harris's history against the Buffalo Bills. I think Ramondre Stevenson will be just fine, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Jacoby Myers is also questionable with the shoulder. He took a pretty hard hit last week on the first play from scrimmage against the Minnesota Vikings that has lingered into this week. He came back in the game, so I would assume he should be okay to go because, again, not a short week for them. It is a week-long break because they played on Thanksgiving. They will play tomorrow night, Thursday, against the Buffalo Bills. Travis Etienne left Sunday with a foot injury. Not the same foot he suffered with the Liz Frank, but Peterson said he could have returned. They held him out as a precaution. He should be good to go this week against the porous Detroit defense. Darnell Mooney is on IR. Michael Carter has an ankle injury, and he's day-to-day and did not practice today. Rex Burkhead, concussion protocol, no practice Wednesday. Josh Jacobs is dealing with a calf injury that likely limit him in practice, but expect him to remain questionable up until game time. I'm thinking if he went into last week with the same injury and rushed that well, I think the dude's going to be okay for this week. Elijah Mitchell, knee injury on IR, another 6 to 8 week injury. CMC also dealing with a knee injury, not believed to be serious. He should be good to go this week. So that'll allow more carries for him, even though it looks like they're still trying to sprinkle in some other guys to at least relieve McCaffrey and not give him too many carries. Aaron Rodgers dealing with a fractured thumb, left Sunday's game oblique and rib injury. Rodgers is unlikely to play this week, according to head coach Matt LaFleur. Lamar Jackson left Wednesday's practice, quad injury. He's limited. Kyle Pitts underwent knee surgery. He is out for the season. Jaylen Warren returned to practice after missing last week. He's in line to start if Najee Harris misses games with an abdominal injury. He was out the entire second half of the Monday Night Football game. Lastly, J.K. Dobbins designated to return from IR. So those who kept Dobbins on your roster held on to him. He is good to go and potentially could propel you into the fantasy football playoffs. And first one from our good buddies, Zar, Deshaun Watson, or Daniel Jones this week. I'll cut to the chase early. I don't like Watson coming back this week. I just don't think you know how well he's going to play after not seeing live NFL action for almost 2 years now at this point. We're talking the end of 2020, I believe, was the last time he saw live NFL action. So it's not great when you look at that. I would more so lean Daniel Jones. I just don't like Deshaun Watson in the first week coming back. You don't know how they're going to acclimate him. Obviously, he should know the entire playbook at this point. But again, live game action against a real opponent, even if the real opponent is the projected number 1 overall pick, Houston Texans, is not great. And the power has come back on. Ryan, welcome to the stream. Hello.
What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody?
Hi. So you didn't miss much. It's been 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is the first question. I ran through all the injuries, and I say Daniel Jones.
I'm not even looking at the question yet. What do we got here?
It's Deshaun Watson or Daniel Jones.
I'm not touching Watson at all this week. Houston, and it's a product of how bad they are. They actually don't give up a ton of fantasy points to the quarterback because nobody needs to throw the ball against them. And far more importantly, the Browns have one of the best running games, certainly one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. I think this is going to be a huge Nick Chubb game. I was tempted, and I guess I'll say it out loud now for my upside. I think Nick Chubb goes for 200 yards this week.
Dang, I saw one of your upsides, and I'm really mad because I picked him
I knew
up.
you would be.
Yeah, so angry. So angry. You have no idea.
Absolutely. But no, I think it's a huge Nick Chubb game. I don't think they're going to lead on Watson. I'm not saying he doesn't maybe throw a touchdown, but I just don't think he has the upside that everyone thinks he does. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I think Houston is 28th against fantasy quarterbacks. They're like really good. And again, it's a product of nobody has to throw the ball against them. You can just run all day long. So
it was like the year the Browns were, again, the Browns they were like 1-15, and they allowed the least amount of passing yards per game. And I saw this set, I'm like, that's really interesting. It was like 12 games in. And then I thought to myself, like, teams don't need to throw against the Browns because all they need is 188 yards and they're up 25 points. So you don't need to throw. So it's a deceiving stat. Yes, the Texans, God, they suck. They are so bad. But roll with Daniel Jones. He's been down. Ryan, didn't you call Daniel Jones 2 weeks ago for 3 touchdowns, and it was his first turnover in like 10 weeks?
Yeah, he scored 1 rushing touchdown that game, which I did call 1 rushing touchdown. He unfortunately didn't do the 2 passing touchdowns I said he
scored. He had the 2 passing interceptions though.
Yeah, he did.
So that's good. Okay, let's dive into the upsides here. I'll just speak on Josh as he was 1-2 in week 11. Reminder, we did not do picks last week for week 12. No Thanksgiving, so no show for us that week. Jared Goff was top. Okay, no, not going to happen. Jared Goff is top 10 this week against Jacksonville. Garrett Wilson is top 20 at Minnesota. So that's not going to happen because Ryan also has Garrett Wilson as his upside, calling 2 touchdowns. So that's not going to happen. And George Kittle is a top 5 tight end this week against Miami, who I don't know if people have really been paying attention too much to the Dolphins' other side of the football. Their secondary sucks.
Yeah,
their linebacking core sucks. Their pass rush, hot and cold. It depends. But I mean, the addition of Bradley Chubb definitely helps. But their secondary is terrible. George Kittle should feast. Deebo Samuel should. That whole offense should have a really good day, in my opinion. So I feel like, I don't know, the Jared Goff one doesn't make sense to me, right? I mean, Jacksonville, again, they had to come from behind to win that game.
I've been up and down on the Lions this week because, like, even when I was looking at fantasy defenses, I was like, do I want to mess with Detroit this week? Because you expect the turnovers from Goff, but that doesn't necessarily affect him. I mean, if he turns it over like in a Goff manner, then he won't be top 10. But yeah, I don't know if I'm on board with that one either.
Yeah, I don't like it. But Ryan, you have Trevor Lawrence's 303 touchdowns again against Detroit, so that won't happen. Garrett Wilson, 2 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. This one's painful because I picked him up, and in a league, I'm benching Rachaad White because the Saints, for some reason, the only thing they can do right is run defense. So I'm not with that. Kieran Williams, top 30 against Seattle. It doesn't feel bold because top 30 is there's 30 teams playing this week. He needs to be a starting running back in the NFL.
Technically, he's not. It's still Cam Akers' job, so that's why I felt good about this. But he did lead the team in touches. I could even kick it up a notch if you feel like I need.
But here's the thing: it doesn't matter because he's going to be outside the top 30 because you said he'll be in the top 30, which is pissing me off. So now I have to choose between Deontay Johnson actually, I just have Deontay Johnson to throw
There
it.
you go.
And I don't know.
Well, what I like about this is Seattle, you can give, I mean, obviously they give up a ton to the running back, third most fantasy points. But
They allowed 61 points to Josh Jacobs, who I was playing against. Granted, had him in Scott Fish, so it went well, but
what I like is even Josh Jacobs, not traditionally a great pass catcher, went off in the passing game. And Seattle actually, I think, gives up the most receptions per game to the running back and second or even first most receiving yards to the running back. And this is what, I mean, Joe, you put me on to Kieran Williams. And so this is a guy who I've been trying to pay in the preseason when we were talking about pass catching running backs. You said something about him, I think.
Oh, so. Great. Cool. Yeah, no, I definitely did.
Yeah. But anyway, this is kind of what we've expected out of him. Like there were James White comps where we wanted Kieran Williams to end up in New England and it just didn't happen. And so now you have this team that has no pass catchers. Allen Robinson is now done along with Cooper Kupp likely not coming back this season. You have bad quarterback play. It's either going to be Bryce Perkins, whose name I can never get right, or John Wolford if he comes back in. Tyler Higbee's playing hurt and saw absolutely nothing last week. They need to lean on this kid. And I think this is going to be a week where you have a team bad against the running back. You want to keep the game, I like to call it low and slow. You're going to run the ball. You're going to try to just get that clock and get out of that game as quickly as possible.
My biggest worry is just their offensive line is so bad. And that's the thing I don't want to trust. If they are, again, he led the team in receptions with 3. That's not saying much. But if they're going to dump it to him in a PPR league, I'll take it. And if he can manage to find the end zone against, they have to be the worst run defense in the NFL after Houston. Like it can't be close. That was a horrific performance that they had on Sunday.
It's actually the Chargers are the second worst. The Chargers give up 133 per game, only 11 worse than Houston. How ridiculous is that? This is specifically to the running back, but yeah.
So guess who Josh Jacobs plays this week?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if you've been following the practice reports. He's not going to practice this entire week. I think they said it's a calf injury.
Same thing he went into last week with, and he ripped off 200 and ungod amount of yards. So he'll be fine. That 86 yard touch. I lost by 20. Granted, I had the 3rd most points scored in the league that week. I hate fantasy football.
I'm sure you saw Czar's comment. He lost by 5, and just everybody watched that last play because he had went off, and I was in a situation where he won me a few games, but I was also in a situation where I don't control my own destiny in a playoff race. And the worst team in the league won last week to help my cause and was about to win again this week until Josh Jacobs bust that run out. So.
I had such a love-hate relationship with that run. I benched Josh Jacobs in one league and still won by 30. So here's the reason I benched him.
Yeah,
was because I was going to be on the road driving and he still had the Q tag on him.
Perfect sense.
So and also I had Rashad White. He had 20 points in that league. Totally fine. Like I wasn't upset. If I had lost by like 10 points, I would have been mad. But I still put up 155 and won by 30. So I was like, by far, it was totally fine. But I played Najee Harris technically over Rashad White. If I was watching it, Jacobs would have been in my lineup.
Yeah.
But I was on the road, wasn't sure if I'd have the time to put him in. Rashad White started at noon my time, so
I get it. Yeah, Najee Harris is a terrible call there.
Yeah, I was like, oh look, dude had a good week the week prior. You know, maybe he found the end zone, thank God.
Yeah.
But then obviously the abdominal injury doesn't really help there.
Yeah, they're saying he missed serious injury, but then Jalen Warren is saying he's cleared to play this week too. So that's going to be an interesting backfield.
Super interesting. But just stay in the theme of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'll answer this. Can Pittsburgh be trusted against Atlanta? And Ryan obviously chime in. I picked up the Steelers defense because
I picked him up last week for this week.
Yeah. I picked him up. I have a very sack heavy league. So I'll say I have the Broncos defense and the Eagles defense. Now, my benches are pretty deep, and I have 2 guys on IR, so I had the spots to fill. I picked up Cameron Dicker late and wasn't able to drop Kaimi Fairbairn, so Fairbairn was on my bench, so I just dropped Fairbairn for the Steelers defense. I'm starting the Steelers defense over Philly and the Denver Broncos. I feel very confident.
Yeah, 11 team sacks since TJ Watt came back. Unfortunately, no turnovers. That's what's really killing Pittsburgh right now is
Yeah.
they need to force some turnovers. And so we saw TJ Watt force a fumble last week, but they didn't recover it. So hopefully we can see more of that moving forward. So
They're two playmakers. Watt needs to figure out how to force a fumble, and someone needs to get on the ball.
yeah.
Or Minkah Fitzpatrick needs to find a way to jump in front of a deep ball and
And he's been
make
battling
an
injuries.
interception.
You hope he's getting healthier as
Yeah.
it goes. The issue is I don't have the numbers directly in front of me with Atlanta, but I don't feel like they turn the ball over a ton. But the good news is they have no playmakers. Like there's nobody on
Zero.
that offense who's going to get anything done. Drake London could have a good day, but it's going to be a fourth quarter garbage time type games where I think we see TJ Watt kind of ruin Marcus Mariota. I actually won't be surprised if we see Desmond Ritter finally this week. So
I would love to because he's on my dynasty team. My current dynasty quarterbacks sit at Matt Stafford and Zach Wilson on my bench, and Kyler Murray's on a bye. So I'd like some hope for a backup quarterback.
Josh and I talk about this a lot every Monday. Is as long as these teams stay in contention, they're not going to make the switches. So
No.
you're going to need someone to get after Mariota and force it into a bad game. And TJ Watt's that kind of playmaker. So
And that's the thing that sucks too. Teams in contention. The Falcons are a 5-win team,
yeah,
and they're half a game removed from the playoffs.
yep. I mean, technically, they're just tied for the playoffs with Tampa Bay right now, based on points. Tampa Bay and them are both sitting at 5.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's right. Yep. The buys.
They
And all that.
they lose the tiebreaker.
That's right. Yep.
Because Tampa won the head-to-head. Now, if Atlanta beats them in their second game, then it goes to
Atlanta's
division
on bye
record
next week. Yeah.
So, but again, they have the half game lead technically.
Yeah, I missed the loss column, just the win column.
Yeah.
Is all I was thinking about. And then what I love, I pointed this out on Monday. The other two teams in the division each have 4 wins. No team in that entire division has outscored their opponent in total points this season.
It's
the NFC least all over again.
And it was funny because we were saying before the season, this is a runaway division for Tampa Bay. Like, and for the record, we did say every other team would be a 4 or 5 win team.
I want to go back though, when Tom Brady was retired for that week. We were on Atlanta. We said, could Atlanta be the surprise of this division?
Well, because who the fuck else was going to be the surprise? Yeah. Carolina is Carolina, exactly. And the Saints imploded. So
yeah, we were on Atlanta for the 1 week Tom Brady was retired. So.
And it was by de facto. We had to do that. Okay, my upsides. Reminder: Stevenson top 20 against Buffalo. Keenan Allen top 6 against the Rams, not the fucking Rams. Holy shit, Joe.
Love to hear that.
Vegas.
I'm just glad to hear you back on the Keenan Allen bandwagon.
Dude, the moment he caught that deep ball, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? Moment he caught that deep ball, I was right back on it. I'm there. I am there. Was I off of it for a little bit? Yes. Was I hurt? 100%. Am I immediately back on it because he, in terms of skill, is a top 5 NFL receiver? 100% yes.
Yep.
It's not even a question. That is a toxic girlfriend I will continually go back to if he keeps breaking my heart. That man. Oh, love him. And I have Chris Olave top 18 against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. There are 2 teams in the NFL that Tom Brady cannot play football against. One of them is the Giants, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And the other is the Saints. And this even goes back to his New England playing days. He didn't play the Saints very often, but when he did, when he played them in New Orleans, I think he only played them a couple times in New Orleans in the Superdome. Not good. He frankly was not good in those games, and I believe they lost both of them.
And it's going to come up in my downside. We all know that Mike Evans is getting kicked out of this game. So
Mike Evans, yeah, probably. I don't know what is. I mean, we saw, what was it? It was last year. I lost a game by 3-4 points, and it was the week Tom Brady and Chris Godwin played New Orleans at home in Raymond James Stadium, and they got goose-egged. They lost 31-0.
Yeah, I remember.
I needed a touchdown. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it might have been Sean Payton, but Brady cannot figure out the Saints. I don't get it. They're not that difficult of a defense to figure out. So I don't get it.
Well, we need a big Olave game after starting off super hot. He is cooled tremendously, and you're hoping his I would imagine, mild rivalry with his old buddy Garrett Wilson is going to light a little bit of a fire under him. He scored a touchdown in week 11, but that was his first since week 5. And that week 11 was his last 100-yard game since week 7. Like, it's just been so hit and miss with him, and the receptions haven't really been there either. So,
but you can attribute it to bad quarterback play, because according to Pro Football Focus, the all-knowing statistical god, he's 5th in passing efficiency. No, he's not.
My favorite part about this, Josh has brought this up numerous times, and he loves it as a Philly fan, is that New Orleans just keeps running bad Andy Dalton out there, and like all they're doing is improving the Eagles' draft stock, and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Andy Dalton, according to Pro Football Focus, is the 5th best and most efficient quarterback in the NFL.
Work for the Saints because it was Deontay Harris last year.
Deontay Harris, the 2nd best wide receiver in the NFL. The Saints have the cheat code for Pro Football Focus, apparently. That is the dumbest shit I ever heard. When I saw that Monday on Twitter, I said, this confirms everything I need to know about Pro Football Focus. It's a fucking joke. Yeah. That's what it is.
Josh.
That's a joke.
Josh has it on the head here as an Eagles fan. The Eagles and
whoever plays the Saints. A couple questions here. Mike, do you like the Browns defense this week? I was back and forth on them. I picked up the Steelers over Cleveland. I don't not like Cleveland, but I don't know why there's something like just pulling me away from that defense.
I'm the other way. I love them. It was down to Cleveland and Seattle for my stream of the week. I ended up going with Seattle, spoiler alert, but Cleveland's up there. And if you've been following along with my stream of the week, when I tell you I'm trying to decide between 2 teams, pick against me, and you probably picked the right one. So I like Cleveland a lot this week. I think Deshaun Watson means more for that locker room than he is necessarily going to mean for that offense right away. And I think this Cleveland defense is getting healthy at the right time, and this is a offense they can beat up on. So I like Cleveland's defense a lot this week, actually, in a game that should be the first game that ends this week. Both teams are going to run the ball so much. So
completely. From Hallway Hot Dog, Pollard or Pierce? Starting Pierce last few weeks felt like being waterboarded. Yeah, I mean, Houston's offense just sucks. I mean, it's Dameon Pierce, and that's really their entire offense. Pollard has a solid matchup against the Colts. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I don't expect that game to be high scoring, but then again, Dallas just continually just runs up the score. I'd lean Pollard.
I say the issue you have is the Browns are just so bad against the run, but then you have 8 yards out of Dameon Pierce the last 2 weeks, and it's like, can I trust that whatsoever? The Browns actually give up the second most fantasy points to running backs in half PPR scoring. But then, like, even when you look at that, like, Rachaad White only went for 64 yards. He made his day up in the passing game, which was something we had been waiting to see out of him. We haven't seen a ton of that out of Pierce this year either. I think I go Pollard.
Yeah, I'd go. I mean, talk about ceiling guy. I would put out there that Pollard is probably a top 3 ceiling guy at the running back position.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he could go off for 30.
He can score from anywhere on the field, which is not something a lot of you can say about a lot of running backs this year. So, like, the threat of Ezekiel Elliott doesn't worry me as much as Tony Pollard, because they're going to keep playing him, and when he touches the ball, he's a touchdown threat. So,
yeah. All right. You know what's not a threat, Ryan? God, I gotta these transitions. I'm way too
best. No, that would have been great if you would have just stuck with it.
Yeah. You know what's not a threat? The lawnmower 4.0. And I do say that meaningfully.
Absolutely.
You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, presented by Manscaped, for the basically for the holiday season. Yes. You can go to manscaped.com, Club Fantasy, promo code 20% off, free shipping. And they always want us to talk about the product genuinely. They don't want us to use any of their they don't have any pre-written stuff for us. They give us talking points, but there's nothing pre-written. I do have to say I've used a different razor elsewhere in the downstairs area. It was an electric razor, so same exact style of razor. I wouldn't say it never nicked me, the other razor, but it definitely didn't. It felt more aggressive and more harsh down there than the lawnmower from Manscaped does. I don't know what technology they have in it. It feels like it doesn't buzz as much. So it's not like it doesn't buzz as aggressively, but I felt completely comfortable, and it was very smooth and soft down there. Again, just feels weird talking about this, but it's exactly what it felt like. And you guys know I don't bullshit you on anything. I threw my headphones on Starts at Different Day last week. So I truly do really like this. I use it's called ball deodorant. It's fantastic. You just use it after a shower, rub it on your hands, rub it on the downstairs area. It is fantastic. And I know Josh brought this up. I wore the underwear for the first time on Monday. Never rode up, never chafed, and was comfortable the entire time. They were some of my favorite pair of underwear I've worn in, recent history. Ryan.
I can do nothing but co-sign. I've been harping on it as craftsmanship. Something we've talked about is, you grew up probably buying cheap razors because it's what you could afford. These things feel great in your hand. They're not going to fall apart on you. Like Joe has already brought up, they're going to protect your jewels. It's important. It's a really cool product. It's worth every penny, and the 20% off is certainly there to help. But way more importantly, I keep bringing this up, Marlia loves it. Like, it's such a cool thing that it doesn't have to just be for the dudes in your life. There are women out there too. So.
Yeah. There's a lot that Marlia loves about you, Ryan.
That's right. Number one is my connection to Manscaped.
Yes. And number two is
I'm the breadwinner.
Yeah, and number two is the area that is Manscaped. So, hell yeah, love it. Okay, you're welcome. This is interesting. We have another Dameon Pierce question. I don't have Dameon Pierce on any rosters, and I haven't actually played against Dameon Pierce in any recent weeks, so I didn't know the Dameon Pierce struggles, because obviously red zone never shows the Houston Texans. They only show them in a negative light because they're never in the red zone.
Yeah.
Anthony says, do you think there's any hope for Dameon Pierce and Alvin Kamara? Motherfucker, he sucks, to regain productivity down the stretch.
Well, Joe will answer you immediately on Alvin Kamara.
Fuck no. Alvin Kamara. Anthony, I've seen your face pop up. I've seen your profile. I don't know how long you've been with us or how long you've been watching, but dude, fuck Alvin Kamara. That motherfucker fucked me last year, and he is proving me right this year. Fumbles on the 1 yard line. Bitch. I mean, I would also fumble if Talanoa Hufanga laid a shoulder into me, but I'm not an NFL running back. So I'm just a dude behind a microphone. I can make fun of him. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, it's what we've kind of been talking about with the Saints in general, the Andy Dalton thing. The offense is just getting progressively worse. Kamara hasn't averaged 4 yards a carry since that week 7. Like, even in the game where he scored all the touchdowns. No, even in the game where he scored all the touchdowns, he was only at 3.4 yards a carry. He just fell into the end zone and needed 2 of them through the air. Per carry, he's at 3.4, 3.3, 3.2, 3.5, and then 1.9 against the 49ers in just that joke of a game. You would hope for better efficiency, but the offense isn't changing. I guess if Jameis comes back, but if Jameis comes back, you figure they're going to sling the ball more, so you're hoping for better pass-catching efficiency. All in all, I don't think there is a ton of hope for Alvin Kamara. Pierce, this team is the same bad team it's been. I don't understand the transition to Kyle Allen, but it is what it is. This team has been the same bad team. He doesn't look as shifty, and I alluded to this on Monday. I wonder if this is the rookie wall thing. Like, he's now playing the most games he's had to play in a season, and I wonder if that's what's happening here. So
that could very well be. It could also be the fact that there's actually no wall in front of him to run behind.
But he did well without that wall previously.
He did.
Whereas, Kamara, essentially since the switch to Dalton, Kamara has been trash. So
Alvin Kamara currently RB15 in PPR, much, much lower in a standard league. But again, we know Alvin Kamara's most of his upside lies within a PPR league.
And that's where, like, normally I'm with you on those stats, but that's even where those stats are so misleading, because he might be that, but he's also missed games this season, if I remember correctly. And then the huge game carried him. If you look at his games from a PPR standpoint,
it's 15.4 points per game.
5 games rather, half of his games above 10 fantasy points. That's a low benchmark for a guy who was a first or second round pick. Half of his games are below 10 fantasy points on the season. That's not getting it done, plain and simple. So
No, not at all. And he's played 10 games this year. The maximum amount you technically could have played up until this point is 12.
Okay. And then they have had
and
their
I believe they've had their bye, so technically 11.
So he's only missed one game.
He's only missed one game. But if I told you before the season, Leonard Fournette, Jamal Williams, Miles Sanders, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson would all outscore Alvin Kamara, and he would also be in the same conversation as Antonio Gibson, who everyone had written off, Kenneth Walker, the aforementioned Dameon Pierce. Dude, he is only 15 points better than Najee Harris.
And Najee Harris is a bust, like plain and simple. So
Bust, a straight bust.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's really bad.
Well, and then kiss of death. He's 27 years old. Like, running backs get worse every year from the age of 25. They die at 30. Like, we're getting to the point where Alvin Kamara is no longer a fantasy asset, especially on a team that there's no direct window of improvement. The Saints are going the way of the Rams, not getting better soon.
And he currently has exactly 4 yards per rushing attempt. So he's right on the cusp.
Yeah, he was doing well early in the season. And again, it was when Jameis was quarterback. And I don't know if it's Jameis defenses see Jameis as the bigger threat. Clearly you need to keep safeties back. You don't necessarily need to do that with Dalton. So,
and also with this, the only 2 guys above Alvin Kamara that have less yards per attempt, Leonard Fournette and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, 55-point game.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette, can't run, but he was catching a lot early in the season.
Yes, he was.
He has 43 receptions to Kamara's 49. But again, Leonard Fournette didn't even play last week, and Kamara did. So it's just, everyone above him. The next closest, Jamal Williams has 4.1 yards per carry. Austin Eckler, who's the number 1 fantasy running back, has 4.3 yards per attempt.
I was to say the only thing that stops Jamal Williams is the front of the end zone.
Okay. True. Okay, this is absurd. I did not know this stat. Do you know how many receptions Austin Eckler has this year?
Oh, I haven't looked in a while, so this is a legit guess. We are 11 games in. I'm going to say 73.
80 receptions on the year, 98 targets.
I don't know if I would have guessed that if you hadn't made such a big deal out of it. I knew he was like the RB1 for a while and probably still is. I don't know if I would have guessed that high if you hadn't made such a big deal out of it, but that's a lot. 98 targets with a third of the season left.
Yeah. He's going to break McCaffrey's single season reception record at the running back position if he keeps up with this pace. Scampers is 4th most in the league. That's absurd. But what's even more interesting, and I'll just add because this adds to my upside, the second leader in receptions, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Not anyone's surprise. Who would you think leads at 3 at running backs for receptions?
I'm going to say, just because I've been riding this train all season long and I'm loving what he's doing, I'm going to guess it's Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson has 50 receptions at the running back position.
My guy.
And the next closest looking here would be Kamara at 49. Yeah. After that, it drops to 43 with Fournette and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, this is a show of me giving you credit. I'm sure Josh is just loving this from home, but you put me on Ramondre, and I took that bait hard, got him in almost every league I'm in.
Dude, Chris, I traded Chris Molina a 3rd-round pick for Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
As of right now, that is looking like a steal currently.
At my home league redraft, I said he's the next James White, and the guy who drafted him had already drafted Dameon Harris, and he's like, I believe you, I'm gonna hold on to him. He trades him a week before the season starts, and then I got the other guy to trade him to me. And I was like, thank you.
Dude, he's the next James White. He's also the next freaking LeGarrette Blount because he's that big, that fast, that agile. Absolutely unbelievable.
And you're going to keep getting that Patriots discount on him because nobody wants to believe they're ever going to lean on one running back. So
dude, oh God. So. My hope is Ramondre is the one next year and Pierre Strong, or they bring in another receiving back just to give him time off. Yeah. He's the guy. He does not need time off. He is so freaking good. Yep. I love Ramondre Stevenson. Okay, moving on. Downsides. Josh was 2-1 last week. He's apparently good at picking the bad stuff and really bad at picking the good stuff. Ryan and I are about meh in that category. Josh has Travis Etienne outside the top 15 this week at Detroit, again, coming off an injury. Ryan Tannehill outside the top 20 this week in Philly. CeeDee Lamb outside the top 24 this week against Indy. I was also thinking about CeeDee Lamb.
I was too. So he's going to go the fuck off because we were all going to hate on him. So.
Yeah, of course. My biggest worry was Stephon Gilmore just gives up one big play, and that's all CeeDee Lamb would need. So that's because again, we've seen Terry McLaurin just moss the shit out of Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore's been beat this year. And George Pickens is ridiculous. I don't understand who keeps making these fucking catches.
I just wish Josh were here to defend the ETN. And Josh, if you're in the comments, if you have anything you can quickly drop in there, I like ETN this week. When I was doing my DFS rankings for football guys, I kept finding myself wanting to keep him in my top 10. So
if I had to guess, it would be because coming off the injury and the fact that he could leave the game at any point would be my guess.
That's fair.
Also, JaMychal Hasty didn't look half terrible.
Yeah, and then there's always the concern of that because Detroit, they've gotten better. They're 14th in the league in fantasy points to running backs, but I mean they gave up that enormous game earlier in the season to Kenny Walker. Yeah, so
yeah. Okay, Ryan, you have Dak Prescott finishes outside the top 15. Well, you guys don't like the Cowboys against Indy this week.
No.
Mike Evans gets fewer than 10 fantasy points. Josh has Detroit is fourth best against running backs in the last 5 games, allowing only 2 catches a game. Mike Evans gets fewer than 10 fantasy points. It's Lattimore's first game back. They're both getting ejected. Nice. And
going for
Justin Jefferson misses the top 10. I am really hoping this happens because I'm playing against Justin Jefferson in a league. I have to win.
So
I do not like him against Sauce Gardner.
So that's the thing is, so again, full disclosure, this was my least researched one of my picks because the power went out. I had no internet, so I'm just trying to come up with one quickly from my phone. And while I was doing my DFS rankings today, I did not want to pay up for Justin Jefferson at all. And so I just kept moving him further and further down my rankings. Top 10 is a bit of a cop-out, but I mean, Justin Jefferson could be top 1 off of 2 plays. So I just think Sauce is going to be a problem. I think the Jets are going to be a problem. I actually don't like Minnesota in general this week, and I think that Jets defense could actually show something.
I'm weary about Minnesota's offense as well, but I think Minnesota still wins. I love Mike White. I don't know if he can continue it again back-to-back weeks, especially going on the road to Minnesota. Again, I was in that stadium last week. That is a tough place to play. It is very cool, that stadium, and seeing everything that they do. They do a fantastic job of getting the crowd involved in the game. And I'll touch on because I was there watching every single fucking snap of Jonathan Jones matched up on Justin Jefferson. Here's why I think Minnesota is still a first round bounce, because I've been saying this all year. Every Minnesota touchdown drive was aided by a New England Patriots penalty. And it were normally big penalties. 2 of them were 15-yard personal fouls. One was also a Matthew Judon jump off sides to make a 3rd and 13, a 3rd and 8, and they converted that. You also had a running into the punter on a 4th and 4, which gave them the first down. Just don't fucking run into the punter. It's not that hard. And then the punter kept flopping the rest of the game, which I laughed at. But Justin Jefferson was matched up on Jonathan Jones most of the night if they weren't in zone coverage. First off, if you're going to play zone coverage against Justin Jefferson, you're just fucking asking for it.
Yeah, just let him go.
It's stupid. Jonathan Jones kind of made the most sense. He runs a 4.3. He can keep up with the speed of Jefferson. If not, he is faster than Jefferson. And that showed on plays where he got beat, he did catch back up in coverage, but didn't get his head around quick enough. Jefferson made some ridiculous catches. Jones was tight on a couple plays, but he also was beat on those plays. He just made up for it with his speed. And Kirk may or may not have underthrown Jefferson a couple times. When Jack Jones was on Jefferson for the final couple drives, Jefferson didn't do anything. And that'll come up later with Stephon Diggs. If Jack Jones covers Justin Jefferson the whole game, I don't think Jefferson has that good of as good of a game that he had. I think he still maybe has, 60, 70 yards and a touchdown because that touchdown came on zone defense. But Jonathan Jones wasn't the answer. We've seen this year, Justin Jefferson can get locked up in man coverage when it's played right. Darius Slay did it. If Sauce Gardner can play good, locked up man coverage and not let him get off line. Also, when they played man, they were off the fucking line of scrimmage. They weren't pressing Justin Jefferson. It made no sense.
Yeah.
If you press him at the line, I don't like it. And again, Minnesota on those drives were not playing well, and the Patriots bailed them out with penalties. Again, you give up 33 points to a team, your defense does, fuck up a few times. But 21 of those points were because of penalties, and the other one was a kickoff return, and your special teams played like shit that night.
Yeah, that's something Josh really hit on Monday, was that we've never really seen a Bill Belichick-led team get beat by their special teams like they did on Thursday night. So.
It was unbelievable. And the new punter that the Patriots brought in, I don't know what the hell happened. We apparently found the best punters in the world until this year. We can't figure it out. But this is a good question. Jets D against the Vikings, a good idea. I don't mind it. They would not be a first pick of mine. But in deeper leagues where maybe you're streaming a defense and you need one, and the Jets might be on the waiver wire. They honestly might not be because they were playing Chicago last week.
I say they're pretty well rostered. I have them behind almost all of my stream options, though. I have them as my defense 13, so they're certainly playable. I'm banking more on this being like the Cleveland-Houston game, just a quickly ended game, than I am really thinking the Jets defense is going to. I would say no, they're not a good idea. I think they could play well this week. I don't think they're going to be a great fantasy option.
Yeah, I wouldn't say option 1, 2, or 3, but in a situation where if you do need a defense and the Jets are there, they're not a bad option.
Yeah, Minnesota doesn't give up a ton of sacks and turnovers, and anybody who's watched this show for any period of time, for me, it's sacks and turnovers. So,
and which blew my mind. I was surprised the Pats actually did get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but it just didn't result in sacks. They also didn't blitz a lot. New York blitzes
all the time.
And the Vikings offensive line. I work with Vikings fans. Not good. Darisaw is out. If Darisaw is out, that's a really good telltale sign that they could get some pressure on Kirk Cousins. If you play in a sack heavy league, I'd be okay. I think the Jets maybe get in there twice, and I think they can probably force a turnover. But I don't know. I'm intrigued with the Vikings. They came that was a pretty big win for them against the Patriots in primetime. I'm interested to see how they play this week. The Jets seem to have new energy in them.
Very much so.
Mike White, and obviously Saleh brings the energy every single week for them. Okay, my picks. The Denver Broncos do not throw for a touchdown against the Ravens. And I didn't say Russell Wilson. Nobody, even on trick plays, nobody throws for a touchdown against the Ravens. Not a single person.
I can't get a Latavius Murray halfback pass.
No, you cannot get a Latavius Murray halfback jump pass touchdown. There's an ongoing video that this dude keeps doing. It is touchdowns Russell Wilson has thrown this year to bathrooms in Russell Wilson's house. He has thrown 7 touchdowns this season. Russell Wilson has 12 bathrooms in his house. So he just starts a video saying, congratulations to bathrooms on another win this week.
Big win for bathrooms.
Big win for bathrooms. That
I mean,
team sucks.
we've all seen the stat that if the Broncos offense could have scored 18 points every week this season, 18 fucking points, they would be a one-loss team right now. But
Their defense is so good.
Yep.
Could you imagine going into the season? I told you you're going to hold teams to 2 touchdowns every game, and you have Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy got hurt, but Jerry Jeudy,
Javonte Williams,
Javonte Williams,
Yep.
Melvin Gordon. If I tell you, you went into the season with that, and I told you all you had to do was score 3 touchdowns a game, or 20 points. You just score 20 points a game.
Yep.
Easy. You're undefeated. Ridiculous.
This is gonna sound really stupid because it's like I always need to be right, but like
I feel that.
It's like we were very right about the Broncos and very wrong at the exact same time, because like they were as good as we thought they were. Russell Wilson wasn't. And the thing that I really started digging into is I love what I'm seeing from Geno Smith this season, and I hope he gets another chance. And we talked a lot with you being a Patriots fan about, Brady making Belichick look very good. Did Pete Carroll, who I know you hate, did Pete Carroll make Russell Wilson look very good? Like, is that what's happening right now?
It'll be interesting if Geno continues on his trajectory, and if Carroll I know he's super old, but if Carroll stays around for another quarterback after Geno, maybe be interesting to see. But I mean, his quarterback at USC was who? Matt Leinart?
Yeah.
Right? Matt Leinart fucking sucked in the NFL.
Certainly did.
Could be. Very, very well could be.
Yeah.
Couple things here. Broncos also were technically my pick to be in the Super Bowl because I didn't see many other people.
I was saying mine was the Chargers, so I don't even have much I can say.
Listen, so. I had Russell Wilson as a top 3 quarterback behind Mahomes and Josh Allen. So that's tough. God, terrible. Broncos country, let's cry. My friend is a Broncos fan, and that is his fantasy football team name, Broncos country, let's cry. It is absolutely amazing. And from Lee, our buddy Lee, Jeff Wilson, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, and a standard. Brian Robinson cracking 100 yards for the first time. He looked pretty good with his big hat.
I say, and breaking the internet after the game. That's a friend right there. Support your friend's business, man.
I love the hat. It was absolutely hilarious. I would go Brian Robinson in this bunch.
I think I would too. I want to be down on Najee. I was going to be down on Jeff Wilson just to break G's heart. I don't remember who is Washington playing. I'm
home against the Giants.
Oh yeah, it's Brian Robinson.
Yeah, not Najee, obviously not great. Honestly, of all 3 of these, if they all have decent matchups, I'd probably play Najee last out of all of them.
Oh, see, Najee's matchup is good.
Against Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to play Najee, but the injury and the meaninglessness of this game makes it
last.
So.
Jeff Wilson, I keep fucking saying this. I think Miami struggles this week. This has to be the week of my fucking vindication, because if it's not, I'm just wrong. I'll admit it. I'm just wrong at that point. There's no way. We have seen this Miami team struggle against good defenses. This has to be the week. But then again, fucking Jimmy Garoppolo's the opposing quarterback, so it doesn't matter. The touchdown catch Jawan Jennings had that the announcers were praising Jimmy Garoppolo for throwing, that was a fucking interception. What do you mean? That was a terrible pass. Garoppolo can't throw. Garoppolo's a terrible quarterback, and he's going to cost me my fucking victory lap on Tua, because he'll throw for 150 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 picks, and they'll still win the fucking game because the 49ers offense, specifically the quarterback, is garbage. I need Jimmy to play well this week. Fuck the Niners. God. Fuck the Niners.
I have nothing to add to that, but no, I like B-Rob a lot this week. They're using him correctly. They're using him where you want to see him used. Najee is interesting because Najee's saying he's fine. The team's saying he could play, but then you're hearing the Jaylen Warren reports. They got Benny Snell involved last week. I think B-Rob's the most likely to find the end zone out of this group, though. So.
Easily. Yep. Real quick, just finish on my 2. Deshaun Watson outside the top 10 against Houston. Talked about that a little earlier on. Houston's really good against the quarterback because they're really bad against the running back. That's simple. 100%. And I have Mike White outside the top 16 against Minnesota.
That one breaks my heart a little bit. I'm high on
It
Mike
breaks
Wright.
my heart too.
I was gonna say we've obviously had our discussions though, and I get what you're saying there. So it makes sense what the story you're telling versus the story I'm telling. I just think if it's a good Mike White game, I do think it'll likely be a garbage time game. But obviously, I want to see big things out of Garrett Wilson again. So
I would like Mike White to have a good game. I have nothing against Mike White. He's not a dickhead like Zach Wilson is, apparently, as we've seen in recent weeks. And I think it's fun. This dude who came out of nowhere, yes, spammers. This guy who came out of nowhere is now starting over the number 2 overall pick because he can't screw his head on straight. It's just funny. Zach Wilson was 5-2 in his last 7 starts. His 2 losses were to the Patriots, and they told him, "Yeah, you're benched." Granted, Mike White had as many touchdowns last week as Zach Wilson did in the last 7. So,
well, that's what I was gonna say. I was doing some research on Zach Wilson for Football Guys earlier this year, and Zach Wilson through the first 17 starts of his career had 17 turnovers and only 11 touchdown total, I think. So
it's crazy. And Anthony actually asked, and Anthony, I'm sure if you were here for it, but Ryan and Josh both have Garrett Wilson high on their upside list this week. Again, quarterbacks can have bad games and receivers can still have good ones.
very true.
So again, from what I saw, I could be wrong, but when I was watching the game, I did not see the Patriots try and target Cameron Dantzler a lot. They actually targeted the guy opposite him, who is even worse than Cameron Dantzler. So if Devontae Parker is making plays against that dude, I think Garrett Wilson can too.
Even Nelson Aguilar was involved. So.
Nelson, first, the first touchdown they scored, it was a defensive breakdown or something. Nelson Aguilar shot the gap. There wasn't anybody within pissing distance of him. It was unbelievable how wide open he was. And I was like, I said, I saw who the receiver was. I saw it in the air. I'm like, please God, just catch it. Like, don't break my heart here, Nelson. Just catch the ball. Christian Watson, on the other hand, is interesting. No Aaron Rodgers, presumably. So you're going to have the backup Jordan Love, who did connect with him on a deep touchdown pass, but Chicago is a top 10 defense against the wide receiver.
Yes, they are.
So, and keep in mind, Christian Watson might be the hottest fantasy football player in the last 3 weeks.
That'd be close.
Really, really hard to argue. If not, he's had 6 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and 1 last week. 100 yards, I believe, in every game. He's been really hot. I don't know if he continues it. I think what makes me feel better is Watson wasn't exactly super high on the depth chart, so he probably had a lot of time with Jordan Love in the offseason.
Only one player, one wide receiver rather, has scored more fantasy points than Christian Watson over the last 3 weeks.
Jefferson?
Devontae Adams.
That catch he had against Seattle was absurd.
Yeah.
That was vintage Devontae Adams right there.
So I wanted to be low on Jefferson, and I ranked him low, Watson rather, and I didn't rank him as high as others. But then when you go look, while Chicago has been good against the wide receiver, they just gave up the 2 touchdown game to Garrett Wilson, and Elijah Moore found the end zone there in a very Christian Watson-like play. Drake London has found the end zone against them, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. They've been giving up the points lately. So while they started off the season good against wide receiver, it seems like they're starting to give it up a little bit more, which makes sense because that team's just buckling under the pressure and trading away all their good players at this point. So
I would like to share a story of our dear friend Elixirs in 4 comments. This week was not a good week, says Elixirs. He'd like to present his insane roster to the class. He'd like to start off by saying Juwan Johnson, Travis Etienne, and Alvin Kamara totaled for 1.3 fantasy points this week.
wow.
It is truly...
The Juwan Johnson one makes no damn sense. So
it's truly unfortunate. He started Waddle and Tua, who only played for the first half. Olave and Kirk didn't die? ? Koo did good. So anyways, coming off a 51-point week, I'm going to need a bounce back.
yes.
Honestly, Elixirs, call it a year. Just say, you know what? We're on to 2023. This wasn't our year. And I think that's just what we have to agree on. I don't think I'm in a single league with a winning record. Wow. This year has... You want to know how tight-knit this year has been? I am in a league where 9 teams are tied for 3rd place right now. 9.
Wow.
We have 9 teams at 6-6.
I will
Don't ask me
say,
how it's done.
with 2 games left, I feel like the fewest teams I've seen clinch playoff spots this season. So
Ryan, the dude in last place could finish in first, and we have
wow.
2 weeks in the season left. It's absurd. I have never seen a fantasy year so close in terms of there's a couple teams in some leagues that I'm in, 10-2, 9-3, whatever they are, that have clinched playoff spots with 2 weeks left. I have never seen so many just tight races. Like even in our dynasty league, I'm 6-6.
Yeah.
I'm technically like 2 games out of second place.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you went from actively tanking this year to in a playoff spot with a chance to take this thing down.
Yeah, to weirdly a contender.
Yeah.
So again, shout out to Ramondre Stevenson and Tony Pollard and Kenneth Walker.
I say you're doing all this without Jamar Chase, so
it's unbelievable. Yeah, you know the ups and downs with Josh Jacobs this week. Josh Jacobs killed me in my big money league for $1,000. Helped me in Scott Fish. I'm now in round 2 of the playoffs.
Congratulations! That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I put up a decent amount of points this week. And it helped me in the dynasty league because you had Josh Jacobs, and I was like, shit, Ryan's gonna lose. He's gonna fuck me. I'm not gonna get the 6th seed. And again, I obviously still have to win the next 2 weeks. I'm like, he's gonna fuck me. I'm not gonna get the 6th seed. This fucking guy. And then Josh Jacobs, I'm like, yeah.
Chris Molina, a friend of the show, writer for the show, in the exact same boat as you. Chris was asking me to get that dub because Chris is actively tanking this year, is likely to have the 101. And if I could knock him, the guy I played this week, out of the playoffs, I got Chris the 104 as well. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I was, actively tanking. And then it's just, again,
it's been a weird year like that. There's in our all flex league that we're doing for Club Fantasy's writers. I started the year 0-3 and have won every game since. Went from last place to second place.
It's it's unbelievable. And friends, let me explain to you why fantasy football fucking sucks, and we should all just never play this for our own simple sanity. I'm currently starting Taylor Heineke. How am I in the fucking playoffs? Here's why. Also, again, I went to the season, Kyler Murray, Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, okay, boom, those guys will ride me to 80 points and I'll lose every single game. We're fine. George Pickens, drafted this year. Jamar Chase, drafted last year or 2 years ago. Guys who came on, Ramondre Stevenson, Zay Jones, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Eno Benjamin for a few weeks. I have hit on the players I said would hit mostly.
What I love about the Eno Benjamin thing is that have we ever seen a roller coaster like Eno Benjamin where people thought he was going to take the starting job and then they're like, you're fucking gone.
Cut. Yeah, I mean, this guy had 23 fantasy points and for 3 weeks straight had an average of 80% snap share. Now he's cut.
Yep, you're done, bro. Go be the backup in Houston.
But you want to know who I have faith in? Keontae Ingram.
That's who you put me on to, not Kieran Williams.
Yeah, not Kieran Williams.
That's who it was. That's right.
Keontae. Yep. Okay.
I have a lot of Keontae Ingram. So.
I love Keontae Ingram. That dude's good.
We all just are an echo chamber and do what each other tells us to do. So.
Yeah. Well, I do the opposite of what most of you guys tell me to do. I peer pressure you.
Our upside downside record.
Yeah. I peer pressure you into doing what I tell you to do.
Yes.
And maybe it's not peer pressure, more it's like a dictatorship.
I just trust you. See how nice I'm being.
You trust me. Who won you 1/14 of that belt behind you?
Exactly. Yeah. I trust you.
And who the first year he plays four-eyed wins comes in a higher spot than you, and first year he plays Scott Fish represents the squad of NPI because y'all can't hang with me, Chris, Joel, and Kira, I believe, are the 4 from Club Fantasy.
I was an embarrassment to Club Fantasy and Scott Fish. However, I'm turning it around in 4i and doing great in the IDP guys. So
IDP guys, I would lose every week by like 20 points. Like
yeah,
just
I saw your collapse. I think me and Josh are the only ones holding it down in IDP guys. So.
Dude, I put up 300 points last week. Dude puts up 330. I'm like, what more do you want me to do, game? I'm confused. Anthony, correct. Put it on a poster, put it on a t-shirt. Fantasy football sucks. Nothing matters. The sun will explode someday. Yes, we're all going to die. None of this matters. I hate this game, but I will continue to play it year after year.
Oh, 100%.
Yep. I absolutely hate this game. So, okay. Stream of the weeks real quick. Ryan, you got Jimmy G against Miami. Please, God, be right. If there is a God, if there's a fantasy football God listening somewhere, anywhere, Jimmy Garoppolo will break every single passing record against the Miami Dolphins. Please, God.
I'd like to throw out that is not my prediction stream of the week. But
please, God.
He's going to be very playable.
Who's the leader? Sam, what the hell's his name? He leads the NFL for most passing yards in a game. Sam something.
Is it Sam Weisse?
No, it is not Sam Weisse. Norm Van Brocklin?
Norm Van Brocklin.
Is it Norm Van Brocklin?
It's
most
not Norm Van Brocklin. Sammy
passing
Ball.
yards in a game
Sammy
NFL.
Ball.
Who is it? It is Norm Van Brocklin. I don't know why I was thinking Sam. Yeah, Norm Van Brocklin. Matt Schaub is tied with Warren Moon for 2. If Matt Schaub can do it, so can Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy, please, for once in your life, do something good.
One of the big things for me here was that our boy Justin Fields hit them for 3 passing touchdowns just a few weeks ago. They've given up a passing touchdown in every game but one this season. I think he has a very safe floor, even for being Jimmy Garoppolo. So
look, I know we're at an hour. I pulled up the list, and this list is fucking hilarious. Norm Van Brocklin, pretty sure he's a Hall of Famer.
I think he opened the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Matt Schaub is tied with Warren Moon, Hall of Famer, for second most passing yards in a game.
So Matt Schaub deserves to be in. I think we've established.
Both of them did it for Houston, just, different names, Houston Oilers, Houston Texans. Joe Burrow is 4. Fine. That's okay. Ben Roethlisberger tied at 5 with Boomer Esiason. Fine. Good. That's good. Dan Marino, 7, 521.
Okay.
Matt Stafford, 520. Fine. Tied at 9. Tom Brady and Jared Goff, 517 passing yards. No, that is not allowed.
So
are we sure? Are we positive he threw for that many?
I love that you had to go all the way down to Goff to get bent out of shape when Matt Schaub should have just been enough.
Oh, hold on. No. Both names get you bent out of shape. But the fact that Jared Goff and Matt Schaub are in the same sentence with 5 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That is... Oh, God, that infuriates me. That is terrible. Wow. His picture, Matt Schaub's picture is nestled in between Warren Moon and Norm Van Brocklin.
Now we just need to get his bust in Canton between those two.
That cross-eyed, terrible fucking quarterback. Oh my goodness. I hate this game. I absolutely hate this game. It's a terrible game. God. All right. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to implode on himself because I hate my life. Evan Ingram against Detroit. Maybe he'll find the end zone.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a higher scoring game like we've seen from a lot of Detroit games. And I think it's going to be a big Trevor Lawrence game. Thus, I think Evan Ingram can eat. Detroit's not very good against the tight end. So.
Okay. Seattle Seahawks against the Rams. Again, it's really hard to trust Seattle's defense after last week, but
100%.
The Rams offense is
poop-poop. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm bouncing on there is there's just nobody Seattle needs to worry about. This is going to be almost game script independent. Seattle should be able to run the ball a little bit better, though the Rams played very well. The Rams defense did, certainly not their offense. So you're hoping that I won't be mad if you choose to go Cleveland Browns instead of Seattle, but this was my gut call. I think Seattle beats up on the Rams. So.
My P corner is what we will end with. The Buffalo Bills against the New England Patriots tomorrow night. And I'm just going to say it's presented by Manscaped. Use the code CLUBFANTASY for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So this is an interesting one. I'm fading Stephon Diggs and playing Stephon Diggs.
What?
Here's why. And you are going to have to make the decision because you're not going to know until game time. Fade him if he sees Jack Jones. Play him if he sees Jonathan Jones. Reminder, Jack Jones wears 13. Jonathan Jones wears 31. It gets really freaking confusing seeing them on the field together because their numbers are just backwards. They have the same last name. They're both black. They're literally the same height. So it's you don't know who they are.
Yes.
You don't. You don't. So if Stephon Diggs sees Jack Jones, I think he has a bad night. If he sees Jonathan Jones, he'll set NFL records because Jonathan Jones has forgotten what man coverage is. And also, if they play zone defense, then that's just zone defense should be outlawed in the NFL. Outlawed.
Yeah, it's great for wide receivers.
God, terrible. Okay, AJ Brown higher than 74.5 receiving yards is Josh's talking props. Revenge game, obviously, against the Titans. I think I can second that one as well.
Yeah, I'll third it. Why not?
All right, fantastic. All right, upcoming show, Sneaky Flex tomorrow. You down with IDP tomorrow as well, 6:30 and 7 respectively. Excuse me, starts a different day, Saturday. Who's your caddy? New show, not involving fantasy football, but golf, because caddy is a golf. Get it? So if you want to get into PGA, DFS, and some props as well, I host that show along with Kelly as well. It is, honestly, it's a little fun. I play golf. I love golf. Actually just played indoors just before the show today. Had a very good round. Your boy was killing it for his team. Currently in first place in the scramble. So we're looking good, trying to win $90 this week. And then Herstory in the Making, hosted by Britt Flynn. Second episode just dropped yesterday with Linda Lindellians as the guest. You guys have seen Linda on this show and on Starts a Different Day as well many a time. So awesome. Definitely go check that out. Upcoming articles on the website at clubfantasyffl.com. And you can follow us, Club Fantasy FFL, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow myself at Joe_Zollo, Ryan at the Fantasy 5, Josh at the One Hudsonian. That's about it. Yeah, that's it for the peeps on this show. And that is everything. I kind of did it backwards. I don't really know how. I did it very backwards.
I think you did a great job.
Oh, thanks, man. Reminder, Club Fantasy code manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. We're going to keep harping on it because they're very nice to us and they gave us some really amazing stuff. And we really, truly hope you guys do take advantage of it. They're tracking every Club Fantasy code, so we hope to see you guys use that code. Again, do it for yourself or give it as a gift during the holidays. They have way more than just an actual razor. If you need to bring a gift that is like a useful gift, but also a little funny to your Yankee swap or your white elephant, they have a lot of good gifts. You're going to get 20% off of free shipping, so it's going to drop it under $25, which is normally the norm, I feel, for white elephants, Yankee swaps. It makes a perfect gift.
It really does. And it's just been, like I said, very well put together product, something you could be happy about giving as a gift. And as Donovan said, use it to shave your Pokeballs.
Use it to shave your Pokeballs. Always remember, defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We should have the entire full stack lineup for you next week, barring a power outage. And Josh just needs to get his ass back in here. But we will be all good. Defense wins championships. Offense wins fantasy football. We will see